So now people are coming in on Discord. Sorry about that. They changed something on me for stages, and I'd never seen that. Okay, we are good. All right, now we can get started, guys. All right, so this is December's Q&A session, and pretty much what we did in November, which I thought was pretty nice for the members, is, you know, if you guys are watching me, if you guys are watching my streams, you know, in the morning times, it's not always the easiest place to be constantly, you know, answering questions from people that are just jumping on the stream for the first time, and they've got questions on, you know, what they're looking at on the charts. But for those of you that are in my signal service group, and for those of you that are members through YouTube, this is the opportunity that I give you guys to pretty much for me to be an open book, and the questions that you guys have, now is the best time to ask them. So what I would ask you to do is, if you've got some questions ready for me, you can either type in the chat on YouTube. If you're on Discord, now's your opportunity here to type into the chat. Let me know just on chat if you guys can hear me, and you can see me on Discord, which I think you can. So, and I see Brian is already typing, so we're good there. So it's an open forum. Whatever questions that you guys have, now's the time. And then, you know, obviously I can kind of go over a little bit of the current market that we're in. It's been tough. So December's been rough. You know, actually, let me just, well, I've got Discord open over here, so it's a little tough for me. But just looking at the signals from December, obviously November we had a fantastic month. I think we had about an 88% win rate in November, which was great. So put out a signal early this morning for a short on the NQ. Probably about 5 minutes before the open, I said careful at open, pause for 10 minutes, which if you guys are watching that on stream, that the opening minute on the NQ blew right through that signal. We had a winner yesterday for just TP1. So typically I like to see TP1 and TP2, as I know most of you do. The 16th, we had a winner. We had a bunch of rollover resets with the new contract. We had a stop loss on the 14th. We had a stop loss today on the ES. That was a nasty one. Took that one on stream with you guys. The 11th, we had a loss. We had two losses on the 11th. We had a TP1 and TP2 on the 11th. The 10th, we had a TP1 and 2. We had two of them on the 10th. We had another stop loss. So I'm going to say, just looking at it, that we might be 50%, maybe 55% win rate in December, which is pretty terrible. And I'm not trying to make any excuses for myself, but even in that last week of November, I kept saying it, that the price action was getting pretty nasty. And it kind of continued until FOMC. Once FOMC came, you guys have seen that the market volatility has definitely picked up, and the market has at least been moving. So that's good. Then we obviously had the contract rollover, which is what you guys are seeing on my screen. And hopefully you guys have followed suit on what I've been doing, because it has definitely been helping me with, so what I have is I have the daily volume composite on the left-hand side of my screen, which is just set to the 1 day. Now what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to set it to a 2-day volume composite. And I'm going to do that every day, increase a day on this composite, until I get about a week and a half. After that, I can just switch right back over to at least the 45-day composite, and I think we should be perfectly fine. So this is giving me a better picture of current volume on March's contracts. This is obviously a hybrid blend of mainly December and then March. So easy way to do it on NinjaTrader. Just go into your data series add another data series to your chart, and then so this is like a days to load 1. That would be my left-hand side of my chart. So what it'll do is once you add a secondary one with, let's say, the 1 day and then the 45 day, what you can do is you just drag one of the windows all the way down so that you can't see it anymore. And then now you've got both composites on your screen, which has honestly been helping me out tremendously. So that's one thing. So we had the contract rollover, which typically, if you guys, I've got a lot of my Signal members that have been with me for 9 to 10 months already. And you guys have seen that whenever we have contract rollover, I'll go in and I reset a lot of the signals because of the fact that my signals are so sniper. I mean, on the NQ, we're typically risking 8 to 9 points. There's not many traders out there that are working with an 8 or 9 point stop loss with a 78% win rate. It's just not something that you see. But when you have the new contract rollover come through, then if you take a look at all of the price action that happened in December's contract, the levels are very different. I shouldn't say very different, but there's definitely slightly different in that from those two contracts, where that slight deviation of 3 or 4 points or 5 points is the plus or minus that I need for my trades. So I always do a contract rollover. And then what typically hurts and what I've always seen kind of happen during this time of the rollover is members will start to kind of get like, they don't necessarily verbalize it to me or DM me about it, but I can see that, they want the signals, they want the setups. I want them too. I want to trade them and I want to be profitable every day, or as much as I possibly can. But at the same time, I'm not trying to force anything to put out signals just to put them out. So, there's typically this I want to say about almost a 2-week lull in signals when the new contract usually comes out. At least we've had some decent price action that's given us some opportunities, but we're seeing that the sniperness of the signals is still not there 100%. So I'm aware of it. I want to relay it to you guys so that you guys understand that, hey, you just joined the signal service and there's one signal posted. Typically we're running with like 8 or 9 signals, and daily there's at least 1, possibly 2 signals that come up. And that's just not the case right now. And I can't change that unless the market gives us something to look at. And, just from looking at price action to the left on my screen on the NQ, there's definitely some areas that have been left unbalanced going down. Obviously just looking at it, you got a 5-minute level right here, you got a 5-minute level right here, you got a 5-minute level right here. So there's already some opportunities that I'm looking at on the chart that could be some potential setups. So that's something that I wanted to talk about. Let's see if we can maybe get to some of the questions here. So December, and sorry, I've got your, let me disable this. Okay. December has been really rough for me. This is the first month I started trading with my cash account. Yeah, I know, I understand. And it's been a rough one for damn sure. There's no sugarcoating that one at all. And, I'm hoping that, the first week in December was tough. I think the last week of November was brutal. The ES was untradeable. That was an instrument that just was doing very, very poor. So hopefully that increases and it starts to get a little bit better. Brian's got a question. When price is moving and you say something like they left the 50s unbalanced, can you show exactly what you are looking at that shows you that? Yeah, absolutely. So an area that is unbalanced for me. So right now I'm on the 5-minute. Okay. And it depends on what I'm working with. So if I'm working for a TP, I'm on the 1 minute. For the ES, for the NQ, I'm typically on the, if I could find a 1 minute area that's unbalanced, that's great. And I'm going to show you how I do that. But typically on the NQ, you need to be at like the 30-second to find your unbalanced areas for your TPs. An area that's unbalanced to me, actually, this is not the greatest example, because right here, if you were to draw your level, which we know that would be right there, you've got a move to the upside, you've got a U-turn in the market, and what I'm looking for on the 5 minute, so whatever time frame I'm on, I'm looking for a break of structure. And we don't necessarily, from this move, we did not get that break of structure. We almost did. It was almost a good one, but we did not get a break of structure here. So this wouldn't even be an unbalanced area that I would need to look at. Let me see if I could find one. Okay, here's a great one. So let me move this level to right here. Okay. So on the 5 minute, you've got an area, obviously, of consolidation. You had a very impulsive move, break of structure. Okay, so we broke structure right down here. And so this is a level that I am very interested in, and I would consider this to be an unbalanced area. Okay, so let's just say, shoot, I don't have it on this chart, but let's just say this area right, that's not what I want to do. Oh, you know what, I could use that. That's fine. I could use this right here. So this would be like an unbalanced area for me, okay, on the 5 minute. So then what I want to do is I drop down to the 1 minute, and I want to see how price action actually left that area. So we'll go back to that, wherever that box is at that I just drew. It was earlier in the day, right here. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. We obviously know that this is the level that we found on the 5 minute, right? At the 68.64 1/4. Now, what I want to see on the 1 minute is for that level to have broken structure, which it did, and we did not have any wicks coming into our level or close to our level. A little bit of discretion there. Is it a point? Is it 2 points? But typically, if I'm like 2 points on the ES away of any wicks, for me, that's completely unbalanced. Okay. And when you have areas that are unbalanced with no wicks, coming back and tapping into areas before they leave, those are what I consider to be unbalanced. And I can do unbalanced from the 30-second on the NQ to the 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 minute on the ES. Typically not the 15 minute, because again, for my TPs, very rarely do I see a 5 minute unbalanced area, but a 1 minute for sure on the ES you can get. And those are areas that the market, it's just an auction theory where, wherever they conduct their business at, they need to move that business to another area where they can conduct where they can complete their auction. They can do business with willing and ready market participants, a lot of them. That's why they're always looking for those pockets specifically for them to go through. Not fair value gaps, not FEGs, order blocks. There's 100 different ways of looking at, the market. But what they're looking for is the pockets of liquidity that are sitting in the market where they can conduct their business. And then for TPs, it's pretty simple. Let's just say this is maybe a bad example, but actually, no, it's not a bad example. Let's just say that this was an entry, the 68.64. Okay. This was an entry for me. Does it fit well on the volume profile? Yeah, it fits actually very nicely. Okay. This actually might be a signal. Who knows? We can maybe map this out together. Does it fit perfectly on the volume profile? Absolutely. It is sitting right at the bottom of the ledge. We would have some defense right here, the meat, which is what I typically like to call it, free flowing to the downside for TP1, TP2. So even looking at this, it looks fantastic. Now you're going to say, Rob, where your TP's at? They stare at you right in the face. Because if you know how to do your levels, you already find that this right here had an impulsive move to the downside, broke of structure. Your structure break was right here. Okay. TP2, right here. Okay. Stop loss Well, stop loss can be formulated, and this fits within the parameter that I would be looking at right here. So I would mark this, load this as my stop. Just a little bit right there. This one would be my entry. These would be my TPs. There you go. And that's how I would form a setup. I can get rid of this up here. That would be my entry. And everything is derived from the levels. That's why I keep saying that's your 5-minute level right here. And then sometimes I know you guys will, on stream, you say, Rob, I can't find the level. Okay, well, first of all, you got to check the 5 and the 15. And then after that, worst case scenario, you got to check the 1. I typically, less than 15% of my trades will come from the 1-minute level. But sometimes you have to make a slight adjustment. Like this one fits okay. On this volume profile, you might have to make an adjustment, a few, maybe 3 ticks, 4 ticks, to position yourself a little bit better on the volume profile. Okay. And then it doesn't end there. And then what you want to see is you want to come back into level 2 and you want to see your areas start to light up like a Christmas tree with your level 2 at the areas that you have marked off of interest. And it's okay for them to have levels at your TP1 or your TP2. That's a given. That's what we are looking for. We're looking for areas that they're going to be magnetized to. I think this was the trade that this is the trade here that I took today on the ES. If I drop down to the 1, right here. Kind of funny how it's the same setup is originating from the same area, but so we had, was it there? Oh, you know what? But price action was probably a little bit higher. I forgot what let me just look and see what the entry was at on that one, just because this is a really good example of one here. Or you know what? I think it was actually down here. I think we were down here. I can't remember. But what you want to avoid seeing is you want to avoid the market doing this. And it likes to do this. And sometimes that's the tricky part of trading. So what my A+ setup is on an entry is price action to do this, to do this, to do this, and to do that. I don't know why it doesn't do the arrow. Let me do that as a default. Save as default. Okay. This to me is the perfect setup. Okay, the perfect entry model. You combine it with the footprint, it's fantastic. And why do I like this? Well, I'm going to let somebody on the chat have an opportunity to answer a question here. Why does this price action to me look so favorable for my setups? Don't be shy. There ain't no right or wrong answer. Brian, I'm answering your question right now. So nobody wants to give it a shot? I got somebody typing. Let's go. This is a two-way conversation here, guys. So I need you guys to give me some input. The good, the bad, the ugly. Yes. Okay. So what did it do before? As it came to my entry, what did it do? It left an area. It left an area of unbalanced volume. That's what I'm looking for to target. Okay. Now, some of the setups like today, and granted today, You can say, I mean, very strong conviction on that trade because of the fact that level 2 really sold the shit out of me on that one. But what did we see a lot of? We saw this, we saw this, we saw this, then we saw that. Okay. That move to the downside to me, remember, and I keep saying it on stream, don't go and don't balance this area out. Okay. Cause then what it does is it'll come back here, and then come into our entry like it did today. Perfect example was today. Okay. Now there is a few things that, that are wrong. Maybe about one thing that's wrong here. The big picture moves here. Okay. And wherever this came from, or let's just say that this was the big move that I thought that was going to be unbalanced. Well, they balanced this big move out. Okay. Then they came right back up. And what did they do this whole time prior to it? Well, they were doing a bunch of auctions. They were buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. Nobody was really in control here. And they moved down. They hit the big area of unbalanced volume. Then they made the move up. And then yes, I made the case to myself that, well, they left this area balanced already. So that is a good target for me. And I saw on level 2, all of the levels, they were perfectly defended. Like if 63 was my number, the 61, the 62, the 63, the 64, and the 65 were all lit up. I knew I had about 4 or 5 points as a stop. So I knew that I had a really good defense between my trade, but they had a bigger picture in mind. And if you guys are watching price action today, specifically if you had level 2 today was, and if you have Bookmap, you can go in and rewatch the day. I would like you guys to rewatch once we broke through that stop loss on that ES trade that we had today. There was a market participant that was coming in between 500 and 700 contracts, was unloading every single time. It would hit a level, price would retrace, come right back up, 3 or 4 points above it, 700 contracts would show up. It would absorb it, and you can see it through, it's not bullshit orders, it's not, because you can see it getting absorbed through footprint. 1,000 contract orders, and it was just a ladder up to the upside. And once I saw that, I'm like, okay, well, they obviously, this is a big position that is getting loaded up here, in my opinion, loaded up to the downside, but a huge position. And the issue that I have is that when I'm looking at that entry from today, I saw a lot of contracts here, okay, at all my different levels, but I didn't see anything up here. I didn't see anything 5 or 10 points above that would scare me and say, okay, well, maybe the sweep comes. But the second that we broke through the stop, you just saw them hammering and I beg you guys, if you have Bookmap, to just replay the last hour and a half. Now, you don't even think you have to do an hour. And the last hour after my stream ended this morning, which was at 9:30 a.m. So if you pull up 9:30 to 11, you are going to be fascinated with price action, and it'll really give you an understanding of what is actually happening here. So there was a much bigger play in going on up here that it's very difficult to spot. It's very, very difficult to spot. So, no strategy is going to be 100%. You just have to put your best setup that you can, that you have confidence in and that you have trust in, and you have to just keep repeating it, because over the long run, you know that it's going to work much more times than it's going to lose. And with my new tweak of, a little bit expanding my targets a little bit, I'm okay with it. Like before, I would be really pissed off with my loss, and I was not very upset afterwards. Because if I take one more normal trade, now it's not like necessarily I'm just in break even or I've lost a little bit, but now I'm still back into profit, even though it might be small profit, but it's better than being in the red. And so that is, hopefully this visual gives you a better understanding of what how I invalidate things. Now I'll tell you what we see a lot of in the market, and this drives me probably, this is what kills me the most. And again, if you guys have been with me for 10 months, you guys have been on the stream, you guys see this a lot. We're on the, let's just say we're on the NQ. We're on the ES right now, but let's just say this is the NQ. This is an entry we're looking at. You know, we get price action that does this, and then does that. And it's a tick, a point away from my entry. That kills me more than anything. Trust me, it kills me more than anything. And then you could say, well, Rob, give yourself a buffer. Give yourself a point buffer or 2 point buffer. Where do you end? Where does that buffer end at some point? The only positive thing I take from these situations, which happen frequently, the 1 pointer, the 2 tick, the 3 tick on the ES, is that my setup and my theory on the trade was 100% spot on. It was 99% spot on. I was just off by a tick or two. And in the grand scheme of things, in the world of the NASDAQ, which is trading at 25 to 26,000, a tick or two is pretty damn impressive to be off by. So those kill me the most. Now, I will say, those are also the ones that I think hurt a lot of my signal members, where, you know, if you're just leaving a resting limit order and you're not on the chart to see that invalidation of sweep, and, you know, we get price action that comes right back up. Why? I'm going to pose one more question before I get on to the next question from someone else. But let me just ask you one thing here. What am I looking at? This. Okay. Same example that I gave you guys. Okay. So we get this price action that comes up here. It makes a big move to the downside. Okay. Can you guys explain to me why I would invalidate this setup on the second retest? And there's actually a few answers. So not one answer is going to be right, but maybe somebody gets all of them. But I would love to hear it. Okay, so CAD's got one part right. He says because the imbalance was balanced. Okay, good. That's one. It effectively tapped into that level of liquidity. Good. That's one. Still looking for one more piece of this puzzle that why this might be a bad idea. And Gregory, I'll get to footprint charts in 2 seconds. I just want to finish this one topic because this is an important one. This is the one that I think most people struggle with on the signals. And there's some people that have mastered it already. All right, so I'm going to let CAD type. I'm going to let him finish trying to answer this one because they may sweep above. Okay, so what do we keep talking about? When you get a massive move off of one of my entries, off of one of my signals, which is the reason why I'm expanding my TP on my personal trading. My signals haven't expanded, but my personal trading has expanded. It's because of the nature of the reaction to my levels is very strong, and gives you really good movement. Now, the issue becomes is that when you break any structure, meaning when you've balanced out, so what I would consider to be balanced out would be right here. You know what? I'm not going to use this line. I'm going to actually do this the proper way. Array. Okay. So right here. Okay, so when this area right here was previously left unbalanced, correct? Okay, we had a strong move to the upside, break of structure. This was left unbalanced. We had a move to the downside. And if this move was so damn strong, okay, that they didn't need to even come back and retest anything here, they came down and broke a structure again. They balanced this unbalanced area down here. What happens now? Well, a lot of the sellers that got into this move feel great. They feel like, okay, I'm going to put my stop loss right here. That's where I'm going to put my stop loss. So then you start to see contracts keep coming in. Okay, the contracts, the resting stops and the limits, there's no differentiation in Bookmap between a stop or a limit order. Okay, it's just it's orders. It's resting limits. So they and that's anybody with level 2 doesn't have that data. Now, does the institutionals have that data? For sure. They can, I'm sure they have what they can differentiate between a stop loss order and a regular limit order. Now, my point is that once price action makes its way back up, we start thinking, all right, this is another level that they're going to defend. And I'm still going to get into this trade and I'm going to take it for TP1. When in reality, this was a big stop loss area now because of the move, the successful move to the downside, and the market gets its fuel that it needs. And it might come right back down, and this might even work sometimes. Sometimes they move so quickly that there's still some orders that are resting there. Those are the ones that work. The ones that you don't see that are stop losses, those are the ones that don't work. So it just becomes a less probability area, in my opinion. And that's why I've always considered those to be areas that I invalidate because they're hard to differentiate. Now, I got a question on YouTube. And please talk about getting a confirmation. What do you want to see with footprint or a 15-second chart? Awesome. The footprint chart's the easiest one for me to, they're all both actually pretty easy, but what I will show you is, let me show you a bigger footprint chart. I should have one up here if I can grab it. Yes, I can. That's the ES. That's fine. We can use ES. All right, let me bring this guy up here. All right, so let me just find one so I can make a good example. Okay, right here. So price action, our entry level is right here. Okay, and I'm gonna color this as an entry so we all understand it. Why is it not? Oh, I don't have my labels on the chart. It doesn't matter. We don't need the number. I'm just doing this for visual representation. But this is my entry level, okay? Price action is coming, okay? I don't even know where we're at on the chart right now. I'm just giving you this as an example. It's the first one that I saw. But you can see that obviously price action as it was increasing, we had some pretty healthy delta, especially for 6:53 in the evening. And then what I'm looking for on my footprint confirmation, though, is I'm looking for the footprint to tap into my entry, or in a scenario like this, which is beautiful. This is like picture perfect, where it crosses into, so I know that they've tapped in and they've fully absorbed the contracts that were at the entry. And what I'd like to see for an example of a short is I obviously want to see a red footprint candle and I want to see positive delta. Okay. And you guys that have your footprint charts, just go buck wild with this. and see the areas where you get reversals from, you will always see this pattern. Always see this pattern. When you get to the initial balance, the overnight open, the prior day close, prior day open, any areas of big interest in volume, you will always see a scenario like this play out. Okay. Now, how can it be wrong sometimes? Well, I'll give you a perfect example of one. If you go back into the chart, into the footprint chart for today, and you increase your range, okay? So on the ES, I'm at the 4 range. If you increase it to like a 12 or a 16 range, which is 3 or 4 points per footprint, it shows a much different story because of how much volume was stacked up in that area, okay? Where the smaller footprint that I like to use for scalping that works so well for me, when you get just these big pockets of a shit ton of orders, like which we entered in today at about 9:30, whenever, or 9:25, wherever that order was at, you then get the scenario where, I'm sorry, you know what? I'll do this. Something like that. When we start entering in, you don't see the flip until the flip is ready. Okay. And you sometimes will get, you will see that when you increase your footprint. Only issue that I have with increasing my footprint from the 4 to the 8 or to the 12 is that you miss trades. I have a much better success with the 4 range than I would with a 8, 12, or 16 range on the ES. Because I'm scalping for 5 or 6 points. And if that range is already 5 points, by the time it makes a move, it's already been out of my area. And my scalp has already kind of almost been used up. On a scenario like today, where you had that big area of liquidity, you don't see that flip happen until a little bit later on, a little bit higher, where yes, you could have been saved if you're on a higher footprint chart. For a little while. I don't even necessarily know it would have been profitable because, like I said, we still had those levels increasing throughout the day, or throughout the hour, which I thought was actually incredible. It was really cool to see. Now, in a 15-second chart, much easier to demonstrate because that's just going to be pretty basic price action. You do this in the afternoons time, and you're going to see pretty garbage. You got to go back to the first couple of hours in the market opens. You know what? Let's bring this down just a little bit so I can see. All right. So, just random examples, guys. So if we had an entry here to go long, you got your tap in here. You get a strong candle to the upside that closes above your entry. That's a confirmation. That would be a confirmation. Let me see what other better examples I can give. Let's just say we've got an entry here, which happens a lot. This is where your candle or your footprint confirmation ain't going to help you much. But if you have confidence in the signal and confidence in the setup, then even if the footprint confirmation ends up costing you 4 points or 5 points from your entry, I've got the confidence to now go for further targets, so that doesn't bother me as much anymore. The only issue that I see with the footprint confirmation happening 4 or 5 points above your entry is now your stop loss is a little skewed. Okay, so if you keep it at your original stop loss area, your risk to reward is not going to be the greatest. You can always come back to where the origination, to the base of the candle that gave you the footprint. Works much better on the ES than it does on the NQ. But then you get this. even on the 15-second, difficult to get a great confirmation, right? I mean, this thing would have given you an awesome confirmation, but if this was my entry, which happens a lot, where you get it right on the dot and you wait for your 15-second candle, you're now already, well, in this, well, I'm on the ES. You're already 3 points, which would probably equate to 15 points on the NQ, maybe more, maybe 20. So that's why I say you got to drop down to the very low time frame, or you just have to be putting in your resting limit orders. That's just that's the nature, especially on the NQ. Mike. So Mike says, thank you for doing this, Rob. Can you please clarify how you arrive at your weekly bands using the 60-minute chart? All right, so let's go to the 60-minute. Do you guys see where a level would be at on the 60-minute? You got an area right here that's been left unbalanced. I mean, you could see it. Actually, I already had it shaded out. That's kind of crazy. So that's an area of interest that I'm looking at. So on these bands, you could do the 1 hour, you could do the 4 hour. You just got to keep increasing or decreasing time frames until you find your levels. And this one would be pretty simple. This one would be top of wick to the bottom of the wick. That would be a strong level that the market's going to have a hard time getting through, because it's doing everything that the 5 minutes doing, but on a 1 hour time frame, which is very hard to do, which is why I only have 3-4 weekly bands on my charts at a time. It's very hard to even get them. And I don't necessarily even have to look at the volume profile, because by default, the volume profile will fill in these areas. It has to. I mean, that the box that I just drew gives you the perfect volume profile, the where the bump out is. Okay. So I don't even need to look at the volume profile, because I already know if I find a level on a 1 hour or a 4 hour or a 2 hour chart, that there's going to be volume associated to that. There's nothing else in the market that can do that. Evening, Michael. All right, Discord. Wendy, got anything? Cad, William, Krypton? Questions? Now's the time, man. So hopefully, hopefully, Greg, that answered your question about the footprint confirmation and the on the candlestick. No, I didn't. Oh, well, the original one is working fine. I haven't even installed the new one yet. I'm going to hopefully either do that after this Q&A is done, or I might have to wait till tomorrow. So my issue with my P&L, guys, on screen is, is it on screen right now? Yeah, it is. So my open P&L and my session P&L, and this is just a random thing that we just chat about. This really has nothing to do with trading. But what I don't like about it is that once I pass the 20 PAs, and now everything is really skewed, because I was always trading with seven accounts. Between 7 and 8. And that would comprise of my 2 cash accounts, 5 funding ticks, 1 take profit trader, and now I have 20. I don't want to change the way I trade. So I take all my trades are from the from my cash account. Okay. And the reason why I have my cash account as the leader is that I only will take a trade if I know I'm willing to risk my capital. And that always helps the prop firm That always helps the funded accounts, because I know I'm taking what I consider to be very A+ trades. I'm not going to revenge trade with my cash account. Which is that's a pro tip number one. Even if you got to trade on the micros, get yourself a cash account as your leader account, and that will help you. Well, I guess if you got bad habits, no matter what, bad habits will always creep in, but that'll help you with the revenge trading a little bit. But the issue I have is, like, my average trade on the NQ is, let's just say 10 points, just to make things easier. So 10 points, you make $200, and now it's 200 times 28 accounts, and you get a P&L of $6,000. And people are like, oh, this guy's a fantastic trader. He made $6,000. That's all bullshit. I made $400 because I made $200 in each one of my cash accounts. And if I needed to take that money out today, that's the only account that I can do that on. Now, once I meet whatever criteria a firm has dictated to get a payout on, then that's real money. Once it's in my account, it's real money. And then on the flip side, you take a loss that was 10 points and you're down $400, and somebody comes up on the stream and they're like, well, shit, this guy's down $7,000. He's a terrible trader. And, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking out loud, but I don't like it. I don't like that look. It's just not. It's not me, I guess, is the best way I can say it. I'm having a Tito's and tonic, Tito's and soda with a lime. When do we move away from Discord? So I've got I got an invite to select few members just to test out the new portal. I'm about the content and the signals. Everything is in. The design is all in. Now I am just working on all of the minor back-end stuff that I've just kind of been delaying because I wanted to get the bulk of it to be done. And that part is done, which was almost took me 3.5 months. The way that I'm planning this out, and this is still a moving target. I like to do things when I know that I'm 100% sure, but this is what the plan would be. The plan would be is to move everyone from YouTube and Discord into my new platform with like a 30-day transition starting from January 1st. Because eventually I need to hit the archive signal service in YouTube and in Discord. The issue that raises me is that leaves everybody with an active subscription active until their last day, until their last billing date, not just the monthly date, because everybody's billing date's a different date. So at that point, the signals would still need to, I would still need to continue on Discord, at least just providing the signals for those people that have, like, let's say a 14th of January renewal or a 20th of January renewal, so that they still get the signals. You have to get what you pay for. And then and I also don't want you to double pay. I don't want you then to go into the new platform and then pay $49 for 2 weeks and you've already paid for it on Discord. It's a nightmare. So on the date of your renewal, if you are going to continue on with the Signal service group and you want to move over to the platform, it's the only choice. After that, there won't be any signals being posted on Discord. I will provide you with a unique code that's going to be just for you. So it's going to have like your name and the code. And then with that code, it's going to allow you to go into the portal and subscribe to the Signal service and be locked in at the $40 rate that you're currently at on Discord, which we all know, I've been saying it for about a month, is going to increase in January. And there will also be an option for those of you that want to save a little bit of money. I mean, $40 is already, I mean, I would have loved to find this 2 or 3 years ago, but neither here nor there. There will be some options if you would like to prepay like the entire year. You might get a month or 2 months free. So there'll be some different options, but there'll be just a monthly reoccurring at the $40. And only the members on YouTube and on Discord for my Signal service members will be able to capture that coupon. So there will be, in theory, no break of interruption in the signals. The signals will still be posted in Discord until January 31st. But once you move over to the platform, you won't look at Discord anymore. I can tell. Well, at least you won't look at my Signal service group anymore on Discord, because the functionality there is fantastic. Now I can post my charts on every trade. Now the trade signals are going to be, they're already separated actually. And my son, I paid him, I think it was like $100 to, no, it's $50. I offered him 100 and he said, Dad, you can pay me 50, which I thought was pretty sweet of him. But he went back from February and entered in every single completed signal that we have. So all this stats, if somebody wants to go back and look at all the signals, all the ones from Discord will be are already in the portal. And the cool thing now is, like how we currently have in Discord, where if you click on my trade signals channel, you see all of the signals, the ones that have been TP'd 1, TP2, a stop loss hit, open signals. And then, I'm constantly posting that box that says, hey, these are my current open signals. And then you can click on that to jump to the open signal. That's all gone. Now it's very simple. It's open signals, completed signals. They're two completely separate channels. And once a signal is hit, it then gets sent to the completed signals with a chart of the trade, which in my mind is a game changer, because especially for those that want to backtest things or want to look at how price action happened during that time, it's going to be very awesome, I think, to have that chart right next to the signal. And again, the second that I post a signal in the open signal, you will get notified through email and through, it's actually going to be like 3 different ways. If you download the app of the portal, you can get a push notification. You get a text message straight to your phone, Android or iPhone, and you're going to get an email. So, and the other thing too is that once a signal has been completed, so once a signal is exited out of the system, it will also send you a confirmation or a text message for that as well. So you can say, oh, okay, that ES trade that we were looking at, I must have hit today. And then you can go back into the completed signals, see the chart, see exactly what happened. So I'm pretty excited about it. There is very easy integrations, even though I did find Discord to be very easy with getting the what am I thinking here? The video for like the OBS and the recording software. The integration to do Discord was actually pretty simple. But the nice thing is that now there's like an events calendar at the top of the portal when you log in. and, you know, my stream. So my calendar's there with the member events. The next day stream with the link to the stream is in there, and the time that it's going to start. So like today, I started early at 7:30. That'll all be there. Very easy to see right on one homepage, or I should say one like portal page. Probably not the right word, but it'll be. I think it's gonna be great. So I will be streaming on YouTube and streaming on the portal, and hopefully, for those of you that I know have stated that the lag on YouTube's a little bit much. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be much better because I haven't done that yet, but the functionality is there. And there's going to be a lot of different options, guys. There's going to be a lot of different things that are on there. I do have the opportunities, you know, if somebody wants to do like a one-on-one with me, you know, just a chat one-on-one, which I think this is pretty close to one-on-one as you can get. You can ask me whatever, but video to video, maybe that's easier. Or maybe some things you don't want to ask in front of other people. There's just a lot more functionality that I have that I don't currently have with Discord. And mostly it's financially, it makes better sense for me, and it makes much better sense for you. For those of you that joined my Discord or my YouTube signals through your mobile phone, I feel bad for you because you're paying an extra $10 in service fees that are not going to me. They're not going to YouTube, or they're not going to Discord. They're going to Apple or Android. So this cuts everything out and makes things very fair, I think, for everybody. All right, what else do we got here? All right, we're good there. We from Discord and the new one. Weekly bans, confirmations. All right, cool. Well, what do you guys think? Does anybody have any question that they have in the back of their mind that they want to talk about? Otherwise, I will end this. I will end the Q&A and probably go watch a movie upstairs. Let's see here. Cad's typing. Let's hear the question. I like to talk, so we'll think of 10 by tomorrow. Do you guys feel like it would be a benefit to do this twice a month? I mean, obviously they can be shorter in time period. Because of, you know, twice a month, but maybe for new members that are like, hey, what's going on? Maybe it'll help. So I can wait for some feedback on that from YouTube or from Discord. Give me 1 sec. Once a month is good. Okay. I think it's good too, just because, you know, that way we don't get so repetitive, and I think that there's always some learning opportunities. And here's another thing too that you might want to, me thinking for you guys, would be, you know, you find a setup. You know, obviously December, I want to increase my trade breakdown videos. Obviously, it would help if we had 10 winners this month instead of 5 or 6. But you know, if there's a setup that you're like, holy shit, man, what's going on here? Put it out there on the Q&A. So you can leave that one for the Q&A, and that could be something that we break down together during the stream. You know, it's not the easiest with the volume profile, so we might have to adapt a little bit on that. That's what makes the trade breakdowns. If I don't do them like right after the trade, you want to see. It's actually more important to see the volume profile when the signal is released than when it is when it's completed, because obviously the volume profile will adjust, especially based on the days. You know, some signals go a week or two without getting hit, and the volume profile looks much different at that point. Wendy, is there a minimum for the delta candle for the confirmation candle? That's a fantastic question. I will, and the best way that I can tell you is that it is relative. Okay. For me, this here would be fantastic, because I need to look at the footprint candles that you get previous to tapping into your entry, or if this one crossed over and it didn't give you a footprint confirmation, that's when you really want to look at the delta of the previous candles. Okay, so if they're relatively close, so we've got 63, we got 34, we got 32, we got 67, which was the final push that buyers came in with, and they continued to try here, but the sellers still beat them out. Okay, that's the confirmation. 22 to 67 to 32 to 34, you kind of take an average of that, you're hovering around 37, maybe 40, where 22 is like half of the delta. That's great. Okay, where things get skewed is that when you go into, perfect example maybe today, and I'm not sure today, but when you get into the super high areas of volume and you get 112 or you get 1,017, which we've seen before, 900 positive delta on the one beforehand, and you get any number that's positive with a red footprint after that, it could be one. It could be one. It could almost be zero, and I would say, okay, we're damn. And it's a red candle on the footprint. That's almost like a confirmation to me, because it's relative based to what happened previous. But if we're coming in with 30, 40, 35, and then you get a 10, it's good. It's a good confirmation. If you get 60, 70, 80, and then you get 2, it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest at that point. I would want to see a higher positive delta on my confirmation. It's a very good question. There's no perfect answer for me to give to you there. What I would say is you got to use your best judgment of relative to the candles previous to that, how delta was looking at. Cool. All right, guys, I think with that, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night. I had a blast. Thank you guys so much for joining. And once again, I appreciate your support. And I will see you guys live on stream tomorrow at 8 a.m. So half an hour before the market opens, I will be live. And hopefully not with the disaster of the morning that was. It started off bad. I was talking to myself with some really good stuff. I had some really good setups that I was showing everybody for about 30 minutes until I finally heard somebody banging on the floor above me, which was my beautiful wife letting me know that I am not live. And that was the reason why. And then I even went live and I still had the screen which doesn't show my camera. It was just a mess, but that's okay. It happens. But hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully I can post some signals here shortly. Take care, everybody.